Alright guys, welcome to another video. I am here with my buddy Deeks, and today we're going to be talking about 5 more bikes in my personal collection. If you haven't watched part 1 of the series, go check that out. In that episode I went through the 5 bikes that I plan on keeping. In this part I'm going to be going through 5 more bikes, and these are bikes that I'm currently on the fence about. So they're bikes that I don't currently ride all that much. For each one, I've sort of had a vision or a plan for what I want to do with the bike. In some cases, I'm not sure if I want to keep it. Maybe I'll replace it with another bike. So again, a little bit of a mixed bag. I'm going to go through each one with you, kind of give you the layout, give you the rundown on each bike. After this, in the next episode, I'm going to go through bikes that I plan on selling. So stay tuned for that. So without further ado, let's get into the 5 bikes that I'm currently on the fence about. All right guys, this is my Bridgestone XO-4. I've had this bike probably 10 years. And I haven't done a whole lot to it. When I got the bike, the frame was in pretty bad shape, so I did have it powder coated by my friends at Gritty Brothers Bicycle Restoration. They also stickered the bike. So the frame itself is immaculate on this bike, but the parts I have on the bike are nothing special. In fact, you can see here we don't even have grips on the bike. We took them off to use on another project. I've tried a couple of different handlebars just to test them out, see how I like them on this bike, and I'm so far not crazy about the handlebars. The wheels are nothing special. The brakes are pretty standard brakes, and the drivetrain's nothing special. So I do have a lot of great parts that I could put on this bike, and originally I did have plans to renovate the bike and get it where it needs to be, but then I got my Bridgestone XO-1 and this one kind of went on the shelf. So I got to decide, am I gonna take the time to get this bike where it needs to be so that it's a worthy part of the collection, or do I want to move it on? I'm kind of leaning towards the former. I like the bike, I like the frame, and I think it'd be cool to do what I'm thinking, what I kind of have envisioned for it. So I'll probably work on it this winter. It might make a great video project. So if you want to see me renovate this bike, let me know in the comments, but I'm probably going to keep it, but we'll see. All right, this bike is my Surly Pacer. This is one of the newer bikes to my collection. I actually got it from a customer. We fixed the bike up for him based on his specifications, and then he decided he wanted another bike done, so we traded this for some work, and anyway, it ended up in my hands. I really like the way this bike is set up now, but I do want to do something different with it. It's set up similar to my XO-1, so I'm gonna, I think, take this back to a traditional road bike. So the way it's set up now is it's a single speed. It's got 650B wheels, which originally this bike would have come with 700C wheels. Obviously the flat bar handlebars. Yeah, so I'll probably go back to a traditional 700C wheel, put some gearing on it, and I've got a lot of really nice Ultegra and Dura Ace parts that I could put on this bike. So I'm really thinking make it my road bike. I don't currently have a road bike that I ride frequently, and I think the Surly Pacer frame is really cool. I love the color, and I think it would make an awesome road bike. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Of course, I'll do it my own way. It's not going to be a thin tired road bike. It's going to have fat tires, and or at least as fat as I can get on it, and it's going to be unique. So that's a project that I plan on doing in the next few months, so stay tuned for that. So here we have another bike in my collection. This is another Bridgestone. This one happens to be the RB-T, which stands for Road Bike Touring. So it's a touring bike. I actually have had my eye out for an RB-T for quite a long time, and I got an opportunity to buy a frame off of eBay, so I purchased it. It wasn't in great shape, so I had Grudy Brothers also do a powder coat and sticker job on this. So the frame looks fantastic. However, when I brought it home to put it together, I found out that the bottom bracket threads were stripped out. So we had to resort to a bottom bracket that, a threadless bottom bracket that will work with this bike. So we actually were able to resolve the problem, but the frame itself is not worth much because of the bottom bracket damage. So let that be a lesson to you. If you buy a frame on eBay or you're not able to inspect it before you purchase it, you could end up in that situation, which is what happened here. So I did put together the bike with a bunch of spare road bike parts that we had laying around. I would say it looks pretty cool, but it doesn't really have any special parts on it, or you know, I'm having a hard time kind of getting excited about this bike. So I will keep it for a bit. I probably will replace it with a different bike. I've had my eye on a couple of other touring style bikes that I might be interested in adding to my collection. So unless something happens to change my mind, I will probably pass this one along, but again, I'm on the fence. So if you're interested in an RB-T frame that has a little bit of bottom bracket damage, hit me up. Maybe I'll pass it along to you. It is a cool bike though, and it does look kind of cool, and the paint and the powder coating on it is really beautiful. All right, let's move on to the next bike. All right guys, I'm here with another bike, and actually I'm here with two bikes, and the reason for that, let me explain. I'm on the fence about one of these bikes. I'm just not sure which one. So I have two very similar 80s mountain bikes. Both are very similar. Both are chrome. One is a Mongoose all-terrain and the other is a Ross Mount Whitney. And I really don't need both of them, but I would like to keep one of them. So at this point, I'm not 100% sure, but I am leaning towards keeping the Mongoose all-terrain. This bike is almost all original. It has the Pro Mongoose wheels, which are hard to come by, and the bike is in great condition. So I'm leaning towards keeping this bike, but I also like this Ross Mount Whitney. It's very similar, also mostly original, but it does have a little bit of surface rust on it, which I guess I could live with, but I'm leaning towards the Mongoose all-terrain and getting rid of the Ross Mount Whitney. So when I go through my list of bikes that I'm definitely going to sell in the next part of this series, you'll probably see the Ross Mount Whitney on that list, and I'll probably have decided for sure to keep the Mongoose all-terrain. But you can see they're both really cool bikes, so that's my dilemma. I would like to hear from you. Of these two bikes, which one do you prefer? Which one would you keep if you had to make the decision? Let me know. All right guys, the next bike up that I'm on the fence about is my Tanglefoot Moonshiner. And this one is probably the most difficult just because I absolutely love this bike. I put it together exactly the way I wanted it, and I was planning to use it for bike packing as well as being my primary mountain bike. Since that time, I've added the Bridge Club, which I'll probably use for bike packing and touring. That kind of leaves this one as just my only mountain bike. And you know, I do a little bit of mountain biking, not a lot, so I don't need two mountain bikes, but I've sort of had my eye on building up a hardtail mountain bike. So I've got to decide whether I want to have a hardtail mountain bike as my sole mountain bike, or if I want a drop bar all-terrain mountain bike. I guess I could have both, but if I want to stay at my goal of 10 bikes in my collection, I'm going to have to decide which one I want to keep. So what I'll probably do is build a hardtail and use some of the parts from this bike to build it, or if I can swing it, I'll build a hardtail and keep this bike intact and then ride them both a bit and decide which one I want to keep. I really don't know, but it'd be a tough thing to sell this bike. I just don't know if I want to. I will say they do have a new version of the Tanglefoot Moonshiner frame. It's very similar, but they've redesigned the front fork and changed a few things that I kind of like. So the other option would be to upgrade to the new frame, or maybe put everything on a hardtack frame. I really just don't know. So this bike, it was close to being on my keeper list, but just because I don't ride it quite as much as the other bikes, because I don't do a lot of mountain biking, it's just not, I'm not sure I want to, that it really needs to be on my list for long term. I don't know if that makes any sense, but anyway, as you can tell, I'm on the fence about this bike in terms of keeping it, and we'll see what happens. All right guys, thank you for joining us for part 2 of my collection video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure and like and subscribe, and also stay tuned for part 3, where I will go through the remaining set of bikes in my collection, and those are bikes that I do plan on selling. So stay tuned for that. And once again, thank you for watching. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next episode.